Welcome to the Germinate Podcast, where agriculture, business, and innovation take root and thrive. I'm Joe Sampson, and with nearly 2 decades of experience in agricultural equipment and scaling businesses, I'm here to bring you actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategic advice. Whether you're an industry veteran or just starting out, this podcast is your guide to cultivating ideas, expanding your knowledge, and growing your venture. So let's get started and germinate your path to success. All right, welcome back to the Germinate Podcast. Got a good guest with me today. Todd, I've known you for a long time, my friend. It's probably been, 15 years or so?
Probably,
yeah. But Todd Miller with Myers Springs makes springs to hold things together, and that's kind of the way I feel about you, man. You just hold people together. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Congratulations on your new venture here. We're pulling for you, and watched a couple of your episodes, and nice work.
Well, good. Work. This one's going to blow everything up, man. We're just going to, it's going to go viral here. I can feel it. Well, talk to us a little bit about you, about Myers Spring. Give us your background. Myers Spring is, like I said, manufacturer of springs located in Indiana. And go ahead, Todd. The floor is yours.
Thank you. My grandfather started the place in 1946. He was, he started out. Our very first customer was Allison Transmission in Indianapolis, Indiana. They're still a customer today, and that's kind of the legacy that we have at Myers Spring. You know, we like to keep our customers. It's kind of a tradition, and we've got a team that works hard to do it. In '85, my grandfather passed away. Leading up to that, through high school and so forth, my grandfather used to take me out to dinner during Mother's Day when the church would have the Mother's Day brunch, and he'd talk about someday Myers Spring Company can be yours, little company. And, as a 10-year-old, that's pretty cool.
Heck yeah.
And so, and my grades in high school reflected my notion of a cushy seat waiting for me. I mean, I got A's in the things I enjoyed, and I got B's and C's in the things that, why am I taking this kind of a deal? I got a job waiting for me.
Nowadays, by the way, everybody gets A's in high school. I don't know. They changed the rules. It's different.
I did a couple things, but not,
right.
But not English or the boring things.
Right.
So progressed to Purdue, and I pretty much felt like I was majoring in extracurricular, and I had some pretty tough 9-hour semesters in there. And when my grandfather passed away in '85, I was a freshman at Purdue, and he died. And I kept the good old tradition of not trying very hard going.
Yep.
And about the second semester of my sophomore year, I thought, geez, what if I hate that place? And so I started kicking it in, and wound up going ahead and graduating on the 5-year plan. And then I went to work for Honda. I worked for Honda for 6 years. 2 years of that I was expat in Tochigi Prefecture in Japan. And I owe Honda a lot. I mean, I had some great managers there. As a fresh engineer, out of Purdue, I got exposed to a lot of processes, so many different processes. I made brake rotors, engine cylinder linings, constant velocity joints, crankshafts. We had a 6,000-ton hot forging press, 3,000-ton cold forging press. We had transfer lines. We did thread rolling. We did high pressure die cast. I mean, the amount of things that I got exposed to was fantastic. And I really wanted to give them 10 years, of my beginning of my career. And I had a Japanese boss, and he knew I had interest maybe in go back to the family business, but he said, man, I really need 10 years out of you for this to happen. And so, I fully intended to do that. But then in 1996, my daughter was born. And
that changes everything.
In 1996,
Yep.
But then shortly after that, my roommate from Purdue was in a plane crash, and it was a rough one. It took him 2 weeks to pass away.
Oh my gosh.
And then my dad was calling me and saying, hey, I said, hey, how's business going? He goes, Oh, one of our main technicians quit. Well, why's that, Dad? And he goes, well, more money at the competitor.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what I understand about things, Dad. What's really happening? I don't know. I go, you didn't do an exit interview? No.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, I go, well, how else is it going? He goes, well, our number one customer is, getting ready to dump us. I go, number one customer is getting ready to dump you. Well, what's that about? He goes, well, we can't get the parts out on time. And I go, is quality okay? He goes, yeah, quality's okay. And he goes, I go, what are you doing about it? He goes, well, what can you do about it?
Oh, man.
So at that time, the vice president of the company had an illness, and frankly, the plant manager was causing some of this problems with the employees. And so I said to my wife, I said, hey, if we're going to give this family business thing a shot, it might be now.
It's go time. Yeah.
And so I contacted my dad and said, hey, I think we're ready to come back if you want. I talked to my Japanese boss, who I really regretted to have that conversation with him. But he understood. He was great. I still get together with him on occasion. And
sure.
He was really understanding about this coming back to Indiana thing. So we came back. I took a pay cut about a quarter of what I was making.
I bet.
My dad had inherited a house from a distant relative of his that we lived in for about 2 years, and then finally we're building the company back up. But I came back, and my dad provided a really good, solid balance sheet. We squared away the delivery issues real quick, and I say everything I talk about today is going to be about how this team accomplished where we are today. And so we managed to get that all turned around. It took about 3 or 4 months to get everything back to 100% on time delivery. And 2 years later, we wound up getting one entire division of that company's work, and then a couple others poured in. It really, the business really started taking off then. And so that was 96, 97, 98. And that's where
the rest is history.
That's a direct thing, but that's how I wound up coming back to Myers-Briggs. Now, I'll say this, my grandfather setting those kind of standards, or that vision or whatever. I kind of look back and I think, my wife and I talked about this. We didn't do that with our children. We wanted them to. I have 2 daughters, and we wanted them to decide, hey, that's interesting. So we never set that vision out there, because frankly, if I'd have done probably what I would have naturally been taken to, I'd have been in IT in the early 90s. And so, I have no regrets at all. But remember, I go back to those things that I was interested in, I get A's in, which was also computer science.
Right.
And all throughout high school. And but I had this thought that I'm going to go back to Myers-Briggs Company.
You're kind of wired up like that. It does feel like that a little bit. I've got a funny Japanese story. So I'm trying to think of the year that I went there, but it was probably, I'm going to say 10 years ago. That might be wrong, but it's a decent flight over there. So we get there, we land, and we had a driver. We were calling on a manufacturer to try to do some business with. We land, and we had, we hired a driver because we had no idea where we were going or anything like that. Up pulls a freaking Rolls Royce. And I'm like, I've never seen a Rolls Royce, never been in a Rolls Royce. This guy's rolling in a drives up, picks us up, a couple kind of hillbillies from Iowa in a Rolls Royce. And Japan, for those of you that have never been there, and you can talk a little bit about this, it's pristine. I mean, I've never seen anything so orderly in my life, from the sandbags and the construction.
Yep.
It's crazy how pristine and organized, and it's no wonder we're trying to follow their manufacturing practices, by the way. I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, we get in this Rolls Royce, we drive to the company, which is a small little manufacturing company. And I'm curious to pick your brain on this, but we get there and almost everybody in the factory comes out and starts snapping pictures of us. It was not a good first impression, I'm guessing, rolling up in a Rolls Royce, a couple of Americans. Am I wrong? I don't think it didn't seem like it was the right thing to do. But yeah, it was pretty. That was
In
my first.
Japan, the nail that sticks up gets hit by the hammer.
Is that
So,
right? Yeah, I can imagine. And why it was there, but I mean, it was a cool car, and it was my first and probably only time I'll ever be in a Rolls Royce in my life. But yeah, that was in right outside of Tokyo, Japan, right at the Narita airport.
okay, yeah,
But
that's what we explained.
but talk about how orderly. I mean, it's crazy how organized and orderly everything is there.
Well, and that's there's things that we can, and the years that I had working for Honda, the important things I took away from it were the most important things, because is really when you're designing your processes, you design them to be capable. And if you've got a very capable process, you really don't need that much control. Now, and so a lot of people will think, I think when I hear people talk about Japanese cars, they're crappy Japanese cars too.
Yeah.
There's different philosophies in different companies. Nissan runs different than Honda, runs different than Toyota, etc. And Honda is no Toyota. Honda's philosophy was the design of the product and designing processes that are so capable that it naturally has good quality. And Toyota will do that too, but Honda had more of an emphasis on really on that. Toyota is a system of management, and they really they'll focus on process capability too. They're not SBC novices or anything like that, but they are different companies with different philosophies. What is unifying about the Japanese, and something that's probably we can't replicate, is culturally their attention to detail is second to none.
Yeah.
Period.
It's
None.
crazy. Yes.
There are other Asian cultures that I think sometimes we misunderstand, but the Japanese attention to detail is it's really unique and something I really really value and appreciate. And so the things I came away with from my Honda experience are the things I try to implement at Meyer Spring Company. That cultural thing, it's not replicable.
No.
And so, we have to, we have to take our strengths and combine it with what we have. And our strengths are, I think, a sense as an American, we're willing to take risks. We're big risk takers. We pretty much don't tie ourselves to anything in particular. We're willing to move on to really ultimately what's better. It can be stressful, but
yeah,
I think that's a big difference. But as far as living in Japan for 2 years, yeah, it's a beautiful place, and if you get a chance, now's a good time to go. The exchange rate is crazy. When I was there, milk was $8 a gallon, and so it's right now I think what's the exchange rate, 150 or 160. When I was there,
I paid. Yeah,
it's 80.
Yeah, wow.
And so,
wow.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a really great time to travel Japan if you get a chance. They're kind of actually, but I've been watching some of these. They're a little irritated with all the tourism they've got right now, because they're very calm people.
Yes. Well, and from the simplest things to like dinner there, it took from you sit down at dinner and it seems like 30 seconds later, all of a sudden your meal's in front of you, and you go to the bathroom and everything's clean and they hand you a it's just, you're right. It's very, very orderly, but I doubt a lot of that can transition over to the American culture, because we're
culture. No.
Yeah. And we're focused so much on, like you said at the beginning, relationships and like the partnerships. I mean, you said, I'm going to talk about we a lot here. We at Meyer Springs. Now I just sounded French, but, but you know what I mean? It's very much, we bond together and form sort of like a brotherhood here. I'm not saying that the Japan culture doesn't do that, but it's way more about processes and ensuring that it doesn't, every next person in can just fill that void, and the quality is there at the end, It's a crazy difference between us and them, but it's a very cool place to go. I suggest all of you listening need to go for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about that relationship with Myers and the partnerships and just the people that you've surrounded yourself with. Obviously that's a huge part of the success of your company.
It's the only really lasting success, I think, of any company. Um, I've got John Brown, actually. John, he's
Sure.
our vice president of sales, and yesterday was his 41st anniversary at Myers Spring Company.
You're kidding me. 41 years.
41. Yeah.
Good. Congrats, John, if you're listening. That's awesome.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
He's just a passionate person, and we did personality testing at Myers Spring Company several years ago.
What's your personality test, just out of curiosity? Do you remember what it was called?
It's called PI, and it was a company out of Indianapolis that did it for us.
Okay. I've done many different versions.
It's similar to Myers-Briggs.
Yep.
The different types of personalities you can get.
Yep.
But his test came back. You never put him as vice president of sales, but
I'm sure failed. He failed the sales chart or whatever you're supposed to score in that.
I mean, but he's passionate about ag and about making it. He does not forget his customers, and he ties all these things together, and he works insanely hard.
Yeah.
And he just works for excellence. You wouldn't say he's working hard for Myers Spring, or he's working hard for the customer. He's working hard for himself, or he just works for excellence.
He does.
And I think when we do that, it falls into place. And I got to tell you, I have a ton of our crew that I feel the exact same way about.
Yeah.
So
quick John story. He's maybe the kindest person I've ever met in my life too. But you nailed it when he's like, he doesn't just work hard probably for you, but there were so many times when he would call me and say, hey, Joe, I got this lead for you. You got to call these guys. And I really think they'll make you successful. And he's always trying to better everybody else. I mean, that's just the definition of a human being that is living for the right way. And he's burned into my heart and my soul. He's that kind of a person. I totally remember the first FEMA you guys came to too was, I want to say Arizona. Is that right? Maybe you weren't there, but I know John.
I'm not sure. I think I was.
You might have been.
I kind of, if you want to, I'm not sure how you want to tie that into FEMA.
Well, let's talk about it. Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So the way we got involved with FEMA, John took a vacation day to go to the Louisville Farm Show.
Okay.
And he comes back and he had a lead he wanted to work, and it was his Kuhn Manufacturing, not the French company, but Kenny Kuhn's.
Yes. Okay.
And it's Norden today. And he goes, hey, they've got some springs that are rusting. I think we need to help them on their hay accumulator, and we need to get that going. So I said, fine, it was a vacation day. You get a commission on that.
Yeah, right. Go for it.
So to this day, he's getting commission off of Kenny Kuhn. So Kenny, he owes you a steak dinner or something. But in the process, while John was down there and he was talking to Kenny, he said, yeah, we make springs. And Kenny goes, you got to get involved in FEMA. You just got to. Says he goes, it's a group of decision makers, small, medium size, medium large, short line guys, and you guys fit perfectly. And so John and I always remember Kenny. And
were you doing anything in ag at that point in time?
Yeah, the big, who I'm talking about. We've been doing business with that big guy since '72. Okay. So we're familiar with that, and we were expanding our business with them at that point too. But we weren't doing, we didn't have a real concerted effort to aim for the short line.
Because you guys are pretty diversified within industries, right? I mean, you do some in the automotive, you do some in ag. I mean, it's kind of the combination a lot of companies right now are trying to find.
We're a little heavy ag right now.
Yeah, everybody's saying that. I know.
But no, we do industrial stuff, and really, it's the heavy end of our product line is what's a little bit slow right now. We have a similar number of production orders on the floor, but it's for the smaller wire stuff, for things like gas regulators and that, pretty much everything except automotive is off a little bit, but we're pretty diverse. We're what do I want to say, IATF certified and ISO certified, so we can get in the door to sell to car companies too, and we tend to focus on the ones that require a little bit more engineering assistance than basic out of the box kind of springs.
Well, to go back to FEMA a little bit too, yeah. I mean, whatever the first one was, I want to say it was somewhere in, I think it was Phoenix, and John just came up to me and started talking like he does and said, "Hey, how?" And it wasn't the BS kind of talk that we're used to about this and that. He just wanted to know how to utilize the show to benefit Myers Springs. Like, why are we here? What can we do to get involved? And I honestly think, I don't know how many years ago that was. I'm going to say probably close to 15. And you and him and everybody involved with Myers Spring have been showing up ever since. And now you're a staple in FEMA for sure. John's super active on all the boards. You're always there. And I think
James is picking up the slack where,
what's that?
James Williamson
James is picking up the slack as well. And he's starting to be a staple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, talk about that consistency on why. I mean, I think it's a huge part of FEMA. It's a huge part of the ag equipment industry in and of itself. You can't dabble in it. You got to go all in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a group of solid people, and you earn trust on a minute by minute basis, and you blow it on a second basis.
Yep.
And an hour and a daily. You earn trust over time, and I think that it's just the way that these people all operate. It's the most satisfying way to do business is with trust-based relationships, and fessing up when you mess up, and so it's and knowing that you can count on our company, that doesn't just happen overnight, and John and James, our team, I think we prove that on a regular basis.
It takes time to build those relationships, and it takes effort. It takes time, and John and James and you and really everybody at Myers is putting that in, and it shows. And that's what sets apart a successful company, and one that's tracking in the right direction, and maybe the other ones that aren't. So all of you out there that aren't involved with FEMA, look me up. Heck, look Todd up. Look all of us up, and we'll help you get involved for sure.
But,
what about, let's talk about the old industry here for a bit. Tell us about the current state of things, my friend.
Well, it's as my mom, she's 88, and she's been kind of depressed here lately. I walked outside, and she claims she doesn't watch the news. Okay, she says, "Oh, I don't watch the news," and I said, just shut it off, Mom. I mean, it's a perfect time for the Serenity Prayer.
Yeah,
and so her friend stopped by while I was out there talking to her yesterday, and she goes out to her friend. You can't figure out how to open the van door, and she goes, "Well, maybe something's broken." She goes, "I hope these tariffs don't those automotive tariffs don't hurt you." I go, "And you say you don't watch the news?"
Right.
What are these tariffs were yesterday's news, Mom.
Yes. What are these tariffs? Exactly.
And so it's there's a lot in the air right now, but over the decades, there's been a lot of things that I really think we need to be rectifying, and no positive change ever came without some sort of concern or pain. And I think about the big decisions that we've made at Myers Spring Company here just in the last 5 years. We had a 50,000 square foot addition that I lost tons of sleep over. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? That sort of thing. We've spent probably $4 million in new equipment over the last 3 or 4 years, and that concern. You know how it is. You're saying, I'm going to put this on the line, and we just 2 years ago, 2023 in September, we went live on a new ERP.
There you go.
So how much more craziness can you do?
Right.
And how much more sleep can you lose? But you know what? It's all panning out. And those were all pain points, and they were all things that had to happen if we were going to be where our vision wanted us to be.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like some of that's going on right now. Ultimately, the relationship the United States has with the world, it's kind of, I think we're kind of post World War II in it finally. And we're trying to figure out our place and how that works. And for us manufacturers, I think the thing that doesn't get talked about, and how some of these policies that I think that this administration is putting out there, is that the relationship that we have to the U.S. dollar as the primary. 64% of the world's reserve currencies are in dollars, and that really,
I love how you
really,
just know that off the top of your head, by the way.
I, I was grokking it. One of those
There
things,
you go.
AI
There
and
you go.
asking these things, because I am curious how, because how my question was, how do these tariffs relate to the way that we are affected as manufacturers, and that the dollar as reserve currency has a big impact. It distorts the cost of our products, because
Yes.
everybody says, hey, we have this big trade imbalance with our trading partners. We really don't. They send us stuff, we send them paper, and that's what it amounts to. It's completely balanced, but that desire for that paper, so that maybe, let's say, Bolivia wants to sell us some lithium, so that way they can get some dollars to buy some oil.
Right.
Because it all comes back, and it affects what we do at Myers Spring Company, because of our input costs, our healthcare costs, our labor costs, you can just go down the list.
Yeah.
And so when we're denominated in dollars, there's an artificial inflation of the value of that dollar, because it's in demand. It's a product in itself. And so I think that what we're looking at here, not that, I mean, it's a dangerous conversation to say, hey, from a manufacturer's perspective, we'd probably be better off if the dollar wasn't the reserve currency, but we get some benefits too, because we can buy materials from all over the world. How do we
It
balance
depends on what
this?
that exchange rate is and where it's at. And
Yeah.
the trade talk is it can be very elementary to some people. Like, well, it's not fair for us, and pick a country. That country taxes or tariffs the United States, call it 20%. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're going to now go ahead and tariff them 20%. It's really not I mean, you nailed it with inflation. I mean, not inflation, but the exchange rate. That's one thing. Even if trade was 0-0 at every other country, some of the other problems are the regulations these other countries put on our stuff that say
Oh, yeah.
you have to manufacture it this way and that way. And it makes it so we're just not competitive at all. It's totally unfair and unbalanced. And that's another thing that nobody really talks about is the unfair regulations and rules that are in place against some of our products versus, things made internationally. And it's probably time to try to level it all out. And
I think that's what's going on. I
yeah,
think that I think when you say level it out, I think that a lot of this is, some of the statements that are made are pretty fantastic, pretty extreme, but it's getting people to the table, and we're talking. I mean, it's got some people mad, but hey, it's, we're getting off the dime, and we got to have these honest conversations. I think that's the bulk of what's going on. It's messy.
it's
And
messy.
yeah.
It just happened to hit at a time in our industry where we all were riding the COVID boom, and then all of a sudden just hit a wall. And now we have this uncertainty in our world that, is April 2nd going to figure it out? I highly doubt it. There's probably going to be some things after that. And where, everybody wants some certainty and some stability back in the world. And maybe we're not quite ready for that yet. Maybe it needs to still be a little uncertain so we can kind of figure it all out, but yet to be determined. I don't
Yep.
know.
Yep.
It's wild to follow. Changes every 5 minutes, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about the importance of being a great supplier? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to your customers? And
Well, I think, it's just like having a great partner in anything, whether it's whether it's your friends or your wives, or your relationship with your coworkers, your teammates. Um, I think, can you be depended on, and how do you, I used to I like it when I go in and I know for sure we're not on anybody's speed dial.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
that but when we're called on to, we deal with some large corporations, and when their buyers call us to bail out one of their other suppliers, that means a lot to us. We just had that happen this week. It happens pretty regularly, within that big company. And so I think when they think of you more of, and you keep you keep the trust levels up, where it's not, you don't think windfall when those peak situations happen. You stay fair. You just make sure you go on, and if you get that work, you get it. You don't,
Yeah.
you just know that you're directionally correct when you approach them day to day, doing the best you can.
Yep. Dependability. Such a good word. And
Yep.
so true. Basically every relationship we have in the world. I mean, you nailed it. Your friends, your family, your wife, your kids.
You only have friends in business. You only have friends in business. I believe that with my heart. I take my wife in, her car got some scratches on it, and this body shop guy, he goes, "Hey, it's done." I go, "Well, what do I owe you?" This is yesterday. And he goes, "Just buy me some donuts." That is, you're not in business for me to bring donuts over, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine. So, I threw some.
Yeah.
We are here. We are called to be good stewards, and making money is part of the deal. We have to be profitable, and I don't feel any crummier in my business when we're not meeting those targets either. I mean, it's part of it. I shouldn't say it's the only thing that makes me feel crummy there, but those days when I feel like,
well, you've created something that's valuable, and it's worth money, and it's definitely worth money. It's value. You take pride in what you created, and it's plainly obvious to an outsider like me that looks at your products and looks at your team and looks at you, and you could see it, man. It's written all over Myers Spring for sure. So kudos to you and everybody at Myers Spring. It's a job well done, and it's a model that everybody should follow.
thank you.
What about you on the outside? What do you do to wind down from it all, from the tariff talk and the mix? And you're like are you a motorcycle small engine guy? What did I?
Yeah, I like to ride motorcycle.
Yeah.
I like to go fishing. I like singing. I cantor at church, and fairly involved in my church too. And so, yeah. I was hoping to take an Alaska trip this year, but my wife said not with 2 babies on the way. So
2 babies.
my daughters are both pregnant.
Oh,
and,
nice.
we're super stoked about that, and one is due at the end of May, and one is due at the top of August. So,
is this your first time
no,
being a
I have a grandson.
Oh, you have a grandson. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They say that's the best thing ever. They say there's nothing like being a grandparent. Tell me
really
about this.
Fantastic. Yeah, it is. It's very joyful. And
yeah, my kids are growing up, so it's not there. They're not there yet. I hope that doesn't happen just yet to me. But yeah, I bet you it's pretty damn rewarding, to see everybody's evolving. Father time catches up to all of us, and it's nice to see that they're,
time goes faster and faster every day. I always say my sampling rate's going down.
Yeah, exactly. So true, man. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you. See you here in a couple of weeks at FEMA, right?
You too, Joe. Good luck with your business. Best wishes. I know John and I, we're constantly pulling for you, and wish you the best.
Well, means more than you know. So I'm grateful for it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Todd Miller, everybody. Thanks, Todd. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the Germinate Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others in the industry. And join me next time as we continue to explore the innovations and strategies shaping the future of agriculture and business. Until then, keep growing, keep innovating, and keep germinating your success.